Welcome to the show, Kirk.
Thank you. So it's great to be here.
What exactly is Solum? I mean, that's an intriguing business name. What is it that you do, and how do you sort of make life easier for punters, for people like us?
Sure. So let me tell you this. The word solum is a Latin word that means foundation. And we chose that because, the world is moving towards, a digital currency, right? There, in essence, if you think about it, most people use credit cards and bank cards and buy stuff online. And in that capacity, you're turning information into electronic packets, and they're going over the internet and whatnot. I went out with a friend just the other day, and I was going to tip the dockhand on the boat. And I realized I didn't even have any cash because I really never carry cash, right? I do everything with a card. And then another thing most people are probably aware of, at least the phrase, is central bank digital currency, or CBDC, right? And so,
Yep.
The idea that there's going to be and is and will be a global digital currency, I think, is something on the horizon. I think the central banks would like to, be the ones that make that possible. But, groups like Bitcoin and Ether and guys like us and Tether, we want to get them a run for their money, if you don't mind me saying that. But a cryptocurrency really is an electronic form of money. It's digital, right? It's a digital currency. And, it gets the word crypto from the word cryptic, because the way that you're identified on the blockchain is through what's called a wallet address. And a wallet address looks like something like if you had a 3-year-old just randomly type on your keyboard this long, string of digits and numbers and stuff. That's how you're identified as a member of the blockchain community. But behind that, no one knows it's you, right? So the cryptic element, that's where that all starts to come from. And a cryptocurrency really is just another, sort of digital representation of value. So they call, Bitcoin, people say, is like it's the new digital gold. I don't personally subscribe to that, but there's a lot of talk on CNBC and BlackRock and Bloomberg and all that stuff. They talk about it. So cryptocurrencies are really just the next evolution of money, and there's a lot of reasons for why that'll happen.
Why are a lot of libertarians critical of cryptocurrencies and what central bank? I mean, they talk about sort of totalitarian control and how it's associated with vaccine certificates and
Sure.
so on. I mean, yeah.
Well, like in the opening, you said I've been a speaker on crypto for quite some time, right? And, candidly, there's guys out there that know a lot more than I do about it, but I'm a decent communicator. So I always wind up being the person that gets the part of the, the show where, what is Bitcoin or what is crypto? So I had a great college professor in my speech class. So he said, always start with something to get the audience paying attention. So I will say, as I have before, if you want to understand Bitcoin, you have to understand baby Jesus. And people say, what? What are you talking about? I said, well, just slow down. We remember the Christmas story, right? Jesus is born in the manger because everybody's in Bethlehem. There's no room in the inn anymore. So they have to, hang out in the barn. Why were they there? Because Caesar had declared a census. Because the Romans wanted to know how many people there are, how many cows, chickens, bottles of wine, bags of grain. And if they know how much there is, then they're going to wet their beak a little bit. But if they don't know how much there is, they may take too much, and then everyone revolts, and then the Romans have to kill everybody, and it takes 3 years for the tax base to come back together. So really, the beauty of the blockchain is also the danger of the blockchain, because it's an open source ledger. But what it will do is allow Caesar, if you will, to know where all the money is and where it goes and where it came from, and he'll get his cut. And now it's a little philosophical concept, but therein lies the challenge of the central banks. Some of your viewers might remember during the COVID days, the truckers up in Canada all, descended on Capitol Hill, let's call it, and beeping their horns. And so the banks shut them off. Do you remember that? Any of that story, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where people get the negative side of it, right? The easier it is for, the man to shut off your water, he'll do it if he wants to. So it does open the door for some totalitarianism. But there's also an evolution of simplicity and an evolution of cost. So you remember I talked about the blockchain, right? Yeah. So we had a dinner last night. About 40 people came to a restaurant where I did a talk in Palm Beach, right? The bill was like $7,800. When they swiped our corporate card, the restaurant owner, who I pulled him up, and he said, yeah, I'm paying 2.5% to run this card. So on a $7,500 bill, right, that's a good chunk of money. And, 10%, $750, 1%, $75. So it cost him about $175 to run the card. Had he done that with a crypto wallet, right, using, a solution like the Solum solution, it would have been 0.1 of 1%. And the money goes directly from our wallet to his wallet. It's called a counterparty contract. Whereas last night, the information, the electricity, if you will, on the back of my credit card went out the internet over to my bank to make sure I had the money. Then it went over to his bank to tell him we have the money. Then it came back to the restaurant and said, okay, this is a valid charge, and voila, it's done. So in the modern digital economy, if we can call it that, internet economy, you've got a multi-party transaction going on. So simpler, faster, cheaper, people are going to adopt it. And then you think about something else that's extremely interesting. And I was thinking about this as well last night. I have a friend that has an iPhone 15. I still have the 13 because I haven't updated yet. But what that's almost like saying is it's about 15 years ago the iPhone came, right? And I mean, who can even remember life without a smartphone? And how many people have smartphones today, right? It's 2+, almost 3 billion of the people on the planet. And that number is going to continue to grow as the second and third world economies grow, which they are. I mean, it's not fair, but they're slowly growing and getting larger. And the first thing people do is they buy a phone. And then if you have the wallet like we do on the phone, then you can have access to banking. So the fact that a digital... What's that?
No, so just to interrupt. I'm trying to get my head around it. So what you're saying is basically this cuts out the banks. We don't need banks anymore because they're just taking a cut over something that goes in and out of their system, in microseconds. And you're decentralizing for financial communication and store of value. I can't combine that with this idea of the sort of totalitarian control of the central digital bank. Is that because the states want to capture some of that? They don't want, I mean, assuming that the powers that be don't want people's liberty and they want to control things, is that a way of them to try and grab the decentralized potential of digital currencies?
That is a way to stop the decentralized potential by centralizing it, i.e. central bank. Yeah, so, and I worry in general that we will continue to grow, we'll be successful, and then one day the government will stand up and say, all digital currencies are now illegal except this one. And it'll be the central bank digital currency. And then at that point, you can't pay your taxes unless you have that currency. You can't pay your mortgage. You can't pay your insurance. You can't go to the gas station. Then they've got you for sure at that point.
And will there be national digital currencies, or there'll be a global digital currency? Because why would states go? I mean, how would they pool the resources? I mean, it's not in their interest, or is it in their interest, or what?
Well, so you look at certain countries right now, like one of our teammates, Evgeny Medkov, was on the team that built the first national cryptocurrency for any country in the world, and it was the Bahamas. It's called the sand dollar, right? It was Kenya came out with a gold-backed digital currency. Zimbabwe came out with one. So if you're the type of government that you see the central banks or the International Monetary Fund as kind of pariahs on your country, which a lot of second and third world countries see that way, then having a national currency would be great, right, for them. But whether I want there to be a global digital currency or not isn't how I frame my thoughts on it, because it scares me, right? But I can't help but think about it in the sense that there already is, for example, a global aviation system. So any airport in the world you fly to, there's one system. There's basically one telephone system if you think about it, right? I can go anywhere in the world and hit satellites and boom, boom, boom. So there are already a number of global platforms, and Starlink is being built as we speak, right? Every day, Elon's dropping more satellites and providing internet access literally to everywhere in the world. So then everybody can get a phone or a laptop so they can access the blockchain. And I just see that happening, right? And, part of the Judeo-Christian culture is about the end times and one big giant global government and the mark of the beast and all that stuff, right? So there's even some spiritual, historical, reference to the fact that would happen. And we know that since the beginning of man, somebody's always been trying to take over the world, right? And we're actually at the first time in history, we're at a place where, say 200,000-300,000 people, well organized with the right computer systems, could run the world. Right?
Yeah, Kirk, sorry. We've got about a minute left. The global platforms in terms of aviation standards and 2G and 3D standards, that doesn't lead to world government. Why should this lead to global government? Got about a minute to answer.
I think it's because it's easier to run one system than to run 196 individual systems. And that's what they're trying to do at the UN, right? We're going to the UN at the end of the year. We're the first currency to ever launch from the UN. And that's what we're going there for, to launch a global digital currency and hopefully get multiple, national leaders to adopt it. So it's just a natural progression.
Do you think it's more likely to lead to global peace or to global strife as people are automatically competitive as countries or nations or groups try to fight for a slice of the power that global digital currency bequeaths? We've got 30 seconds left.
Okay, I think it'll be a little bit, as we're seeing right now, a big fight until it comes out that somebody wins, and then it'll be peaceful.
Okay. Kirk St. John's an expert, director of CEO of Solum Global Incorporated. You've given us a great summary of global digital currencies. Do you have a website? You've got 10 seconds left.
Yes, it's solum.global. So solum, SOLUM.global.
Great. Thank you very much, sir. Very interesting insights there. And it's us for today, this Friday. See you back on Monday, folks, on the Pelle Neroth Taylor Show. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.